We've cut away and listened to people in the nightclub. He's in a nightclub, and they've talked and they said, "Oh, I really like that sound. I really like that song." And he goes, "You like that song? You like that song? Well, you ain't heard nothing yet." You ever heard that phrase before? That's kind of the first words ever spoken, in a sense, in a film that's using sound for a story. So it's both literally true, right, in the sense that audience has not heard anything yet, right? So very much ushers in the sound era, as well as him just saying, "Oh, you like that song? Wait till you hear the next song that I sing." So it's kind of a double entendre in that sense. And then he starts to sing, and it goes, and we'll watch like just 10 seconds of it. Oh, that's great. Someone recorded on VHS and put it on here. But you notice there's limited movement. We don't even have to hear him sing anymore. There's limited movement on here. The camera's not going to move very much. I think we're going to get in this clip, going to get a cutaway. We're going to intercut to someone sitting in the audience there. But the camera's not going to be moving around at all, and he's going to have to stay pretty still himself, just straight at singing at the, because they're recording live here. It's not post-produced in that way. So they're recording directly from these guys, and now he's doing a whistling. I don't know, whatever, right? Oh, cut to close up, but he's got to stay right on the camera in that way. Camera's not going to move away from him. Totally not interesting any longer. The same clip. And then we come to a movie from 1952 called Singing in the Rain, but it takes place during 1928 time period, right? And so they're filming a sound film, what back in the day we would have called talkies, right? To differentiate it from a silent film, they called it talkies, right? So this is what you call a movie that has sound. Would have called it talkie. So they're filming a talkie, and so let's check this out. These two clips out. These are much better than that one. I think we can watch it this big. We'll see. Maybe not. Why won't it let me push play? What's that doing? Why are you doing that? Any ideas?
Refresh the page. Move the.
Where's reload? Oh, great. Just kidding. It only costs 28 cents to make. Still a ripoff. It's bad. Yeah. Let's turn these things off, I think. All right, here we go.
Here we go. Quiet, quiet, quiet. Roll up.
I'm not going to make it big because that seemed to be some problem.
She's got to talk into the mic. I can't pick it up.
So you first of all, you see that the camera is behind a soundproof window now. We've advanced just a little bit, so it can't even be in the same room. The microphone is out there in the room, as you'll see in just a moment.
What's the matter, Dexter? Look, don't you remember I told you there's a microphone right there in the bush?
Yeah,
You have to talk into it.
I was talking. Wasn't I, Miss Dinsmore?
Yes, my dear, but please remember round tones. Pierre, you shouldn't have come.
Pierre, you shouldn't have come.
Yes, my dear, that's much better now.
Hold it a second. Lena, look. Here's the mic. Right here in the bush.
Yeah.
Now you talk towards it. The sound goes through the cable to the box. A man records it on a big record in wax. But you have to talk into the mic first. In the bush. Try it again.
This is dumb.
Oh, she'll get it, Dexter. Look, Lena, don't worry. We're all a little nervous the first day. Everything's going to be okay. Oh, by the way, Roscoe, you know the scene coming up where I say Imperious Princess of the Night? I don't like those lines there. Is it all right if I just say what I always do? I love you, I love you, I love you. Sure. Any way it's comfortable. But into the bush! Okay, again. Quiet! Roll 'em!
So you can also hear that the movie producer, the director in this case, doesn't care at all about the content. All he cares about is this, right? He's not even paying attention to how she's saying what she's saying. He's just concerned about the technology, right? Major shift in terms of filmmaking, and he's not even concerned about the content.
Cut! Dana, we're missing every other word. You've got to talk into the mic.
Well, I can't make love to a bush.
All right, all right. We'll have to think of something.
So quite literally, we'll have to think of something else, right? That whole technological evolution, we're gonna have to come up with something else in that way, right? So you see even the limitations. It's not just physical movement in space, but also she can't even move her head that much, right? So my example is I lean forward into the mic and I lean back and I lean forward, or in my walk I lean into, right, and talk in that way. Even that sort of move could have to be that right in the way it exemplifies there. So the movie goes on, and now we're at the premiere of the movie that they've made in the movie, right? So we're gonna watch a clip of the movie. The director's nervous about the whole thing. The producer's just in it for the money. He's smiling. Then we're gonna see the movie star. She just loves it, and the guy loves her, the actor. No.
What's that? A thunderstorm outside? It doesn't grow.
I am the noblest lady of the court, second only to the queen. Yes, I am the saddest of mortals in vain. Why, what is the matter? I'm so downhearted, too. My father has me betrothed to the barony Lansing, and I can't stand.
Why, all the ladies of the court wish they were in your pretty shoes.
My heart belongs to another. Pierre is the talent. Ever since I met him, I can't get him out of my mind.
Sounds good and loud, huh?
Oh, Pierre, you should. Danger. Valuable.
It'll cook it on the microphone, Les Boss. Did Cupid himself been called? And I, bitten by an arrow.
So the audience in the movie theater is laughing at it.
Did somebody get paid for writing that dialogue?
So if you recall, the actor wrote that line. So it's also a slam on the notion of actors thinking that they know what they can do with lines, because a whole new career was born at this time, and that's the screenwriter, right? That previously the producer, not only the most important person in the film production, but a script writer, just somebody who wrote the scenario, right? Here's what's going to happen in the silent era. Now there's a brand new career, dialoguist, in that sense, right? Someone who's going to expressly write dialogue for movies. And so that guy in the audience makes a joke of it, which is also the joke about still between an actor knowing better than the writer, that sort of thing, what a character should say. But you can see all of the problems that come up with the recording of sound, taking everything I've talked about just in these clips right here as well. They're gonna, at the end of the movie, people are they don't even make it to the end of the movie. They just walk out of the movie because it's so horrendous to them. And the production cast is all sitting there listening to people talk when they come out about how pathetic it is and how they're going to have to advance. If I want to keep coming back to the movies like I have for 10 years, they better change. You know, they're just saying all these sorts of things that very much mirrors the transition that Hollywood undergoes through the 1927 till sound fully takes over by the time 1929 rolls around. So imagine that 1929, we know that the Depression has already started in 1926. Our economy is slipping very quickly, and that the stock market crash of 1929 is only the major event that we remember, but the Depression was really already started, and that really, or the recession started, then that fell into depression. You imagine that Hollywood at that time is building these magnificent theaters in which they're showing their movies. They're doing so in showing, and I'm going to come back to this in just a moment, but they're doing so, how in the world do we keep people? We've started to increase our audience and therefore the amount of money that we're able to make. How are we going to keep them coming to the movie theaters at this time? Well, they're going to have to very quickly address sound and all the technological, aesthetic problems of sound, right? That girl, when she goes, and I can't stand them, right? The commercial problems with the coming sound. They're going to have to address all of those, but another way that they get you to come to the movie theaters is they start showing 2 movies for the price of 1. What back in the day we would have called a double bill or a twin bill. So what they would have shown for a movie in 1930, they would have shown a short movie at the beginning regularly, and initially it was a Walt Disney picture. Like there's a character, his name was Steamboat Willie, who you know much better as Mickey Mouse. Well, Walt Disney starts drawing his animation at this time, and the first film that you would have watched generally would have been a Steamboat Willie movie or other forms of animation or a newsreel sort of footage. During World War II, when most people did not have televisions in the United States, the movies were the place where you got your news. You would have watched a long newsreel, like a 20-minute newsreel, and then you would have played like bingo or Screeno or whatever Screeno is, but other games in the movie theater where you had a chance to win prizes like a set of steak knives or something like that. And then they would have shown you your feature presentation. It's that word, what does a feature mean? It's as we said about D.W. Griffith, it's become the feature of a night or an afternoon's entertainment. And so we call that a twin bill or a double bill, showing multiple movies in grand. That's how they kept you in. They advertised out on the outside of these movie theaters that they had they had refrigerated air. What you and I call air conditioning. Would have been a big deal at that time, right? Would have gotten you to spend that quarter, but you got 3.5 hours worth of entertainment out of that quarter. So in sharp contrast to the depression that's going on, Hollywood is not going to feel the depression very much at all until like 1935, 1936 time period. One of the reasons that they feel the depression a little bit more, that is where their revenue stops just skyrocketing, is the result of a number of scandals and also obviously the depression, but a number of scandals. That star system that Hollywood begun to create did not just promote their movies and their stars and the cinematic life, the Hollywood lifestyle. They also, whenever you're putting a camera on something for too long, are going to catch some bad things in that. They catch not only Mary Pickford, who is married to somebody else, having an affair, oh my God, with another star, Douglas Fairbanks, and they divorce their spouses and get married. That's a big scandal back in the day. The bigger scandal would be represented by someone named Fatty Arbuckle, who was a silent slapstick comedy star, just like Buster Keaton or Harold Lloyd at the time. Not anywhere near as big as the first international film star.
Charlie Chaplin.
Charlie Chaplin. God, we got like 10 of them now. That's pretty good. Like, not nearly as big as him, but he was a big film star, but he's also a big dude. So that, remember what we call paparazzi, but people who were employed by the studios were filming, and they ended up going into his hotel room and finding a dead 15-year-old prostitute in his bed. right? That he had just left the room, right? So, and now that's a freaking scandal, man. You imagine Brad Pitt caught with 15-year-old girl or something. I mean, that would be some significant scandal. So there's a moral sort of backlash against Hollywood because they are so busy promoting themselves. Remember, we are skyrocketing right now. Hollywood is absolutely booming. It's just printing money through the 20s. It's going to print money until 1946. It's going to just make so much money. And that scandals like that, many audience respond very much about boycott. They consider boycotting. There's a thing, never join anything called the Legion of anything scares me, but the Legion of Decency definitely scares the crap out of me. But as a lay group, right, a bunch of people getting together and saying that they're going to call a general boycott against Hollywood for the type of trash that you're putting in your movies and the types of characters that you have, the types of actors and the way they are in the world, you're morally depraved. Right, that we're concerned about the sex and violence and now language that you have in your movies. And that sounds a lot like the arguments against Hollywood today. Right? It's the exact same recycling of the same pithy arguments about the content of movies, in a way. Started at this time. Remember, the gangster picture I said is going to make, it's showing in the mid-1920s, and it's going to be very dominant genre in the 1930s time period. So as the result of that kind of a moral backlash against the scandals and also the content of movies, Hollywood is going to address and realize, oh man, if people boycott or if we have too many scandals, we're going to stop. We're not going to be on this meteoric rise. And so they create the Hays Office, named after a guy named Hays, who, obviously, the Hays Office that's then going to morph into what we call the PCA, the Production Code Administration. So as I talk now, I'm really talking about this ends up becoming this. So it's the same conversation. Both, they are formed as a way to police both the content of their movies as well as the behavior of their actors and crew out in the world. So that star system that they had created, now they recognize as the beast that's causing them some problems. So they have to reel in that. Thus is given rise to what you and I call paparazzi. That is, if Hollywood studios aren't going to promote in that sort of way anymore, private industry is going to come in and go, I can make some money off of promoting that stuff. The same people who chase around Princess Diana. Remember? Anyway, whatever. She was a princess. Anyway, right? And so they police both its input's not the right word, its output, its content, but also, this is not really a very good word here, but it also kind of its image in the world, right? And so they form this as a way to self-police. And so what happens with the Production Code Administration is that any movie studio that wants to release its film has to submit the script to the production code, and the script has to be approved. It has to be approved in terms of content, the do's and don'ts, what you can and cannot have in the movie. It has to approve the script, and then when you're done filming it, you have to submit the final film for approval, and a film gets the stamp of approval or it doesn't get released. Right? There's no rating system at this time. It's just, it comes out or it doesn't come out. This, because remember the studios either own the movie theaters themselves or they contractually own them under forcing exhibitors to show them under a rule called block booking. That's exactly right, number 11 or wherever we are, right? Very good, block booking. So they knew, or I should say, or very bad because you're like, dang. 7 of them I've missed, whichever way it went, right? And so this list of do's and don'ts comes out with the production code, and it has to do with both the content of movies, things that you can say or not say. You could not say, and it was very explicit, as I'll show you in just a moment. I'm sorry, it's very detailed. Anyway, and you could not say guts or nerds. I don't have any idea what a nerd is, but you could not say it. But you could not say guts either, like I'm going to kick you in the gut or shoot your guts out, or I don't know how you ever say it, but that you could not say that sort of thing. Check out some other things. This one, I think. So these are the general principles. These are quotations from the thing. They should I'm Ron Paul. Anyway, no picture shall be produced that will lower the moral. How could my standards get any lower? How do they know my standards? Right? They're assuming a general consensus of standards, right? We still do this crap all the time. Watch, no, don't waste your time. The debate that's going to happen tonight, or the like 48th Republican debate that's going to happen tonight, and they're going to talk about that's what the American people believe. You know, I have absolutely no freaking idea, because, and neither do I. Neither does anyone. No person can speak for the American people, right? At all. That's not what real America's about. Where the hell is real America, by the way? I mean, it's nowhere and everywhere simultaneously now. No picture shall do so, lower the moral standards of those who see it. And here's the cool, interesting thing. Hence, sympathy for the audience should never be thrown with crime, wrongdoing, evil, or sin. And by the way, sex is both an evil and a sin in this estimation, if you were to keep going through all this thing. That is, marriage, for example, in Hollywood movies is very clearly described in the production code as being a contractual relationship, spiritual relationship, not a physical one. So you get, say for instance, I don't know if this ever happened, but if you ever went into like Samantha and Darren's bedroom in Bewitched, you know, the old TV show from the earliest 1960s, if you ever went into their bedroom, I can't imagine the camera ever did, but if it did, they would be sleeping in single beds separated by a nightstand. Dick Van Dyke Show. There we go. There, better example. Dick Van Dyke and Laura, Mrs. And slept in single beds, and you know they didn't make little Robbie. Richie. They didn't make little. He just appeared. Right? They didn't have to do anything. Richie just appeared, or whatever. Right? The moral sort of thing. If there's a movie, I think it's called Pleasantville. Is that right? Yeah. So it takes place in black and white era, you know, and the characters are walking by a department store and they see a king-size bed, and the character's like, whoa, what's that? I thought everyone in the movie slept in single beds, and that sort of thing. Like, really, I don't know how the story goes, but it's like a big thing. Like, oh my gosh, I didn't know people slept in beds like that. You know, no one ever kicked that side table kick that side table away, push those bed to bed, or whatever, right? So marriage was very closely about being a spiritual contractual relationship and not a physical one. Yeah.
And in I Love Lucy, I think they did sleep in the same bed.
Very
because
progressive.
They were married. Because that was the 1950s, but they were actually married, which is why they got to sleep in that.
Okay, so did you hear what she said? Lucy, the TV show, which we laugh at now and go, whatever, antiquated show, was exceedingly progressive, but under the guise, because in real life, Desi and Lucy were married, and they played a married couple, therefore it allowed a full-size or whatever size bed, not two single beds separated by it, right? Wait, did you miss that? You mean you missed it? Okay. But they were allowed because they were married in real life. They were allowed on the TV show, their fictional characters were allowed to be in the same bed together. They would never have shown them in the same bed, I can imagine.
No, they did.
They did show them in bed together? Law, natural or human, shall not be ridiculed, nor shall sympathy be created for its violation. Right? Crime, for example. If you were going to have a gangster picture, the gangster himself could never be shown to thrive on his gangsterism. Or whatever, right? He could not profit, or if he did profit, he was going to have to, at the end, either be arrested or die. That is one movie, there's a great movie called Detour, a film noir from 1940, I think it's 1940, and it was submitted for the production code. In the end of it, this guy who had been involved in the death of two other characters in the movie, accidental deaths, but he's involved in it. At the end of the original cut of the movie, and it's all done in voiceover, a lot of the movies done in voiceover, so he's walking down a desert road out of Los Angeles, and the original cut of it, he's in voiceover says, and that's where the story went from there, the end. Well, they submitted to the production code, and they made them change one thing. He's walking down the desert, and he says, well, here's where the story ends. Woo! You're under arrest. Put him in the back of the car, end. Right? That is, even you just have to show that in this guy, a criminal who's been involved in some people's death, you had to show that the law won at the end. At the end of many gangster films, the criminal, like, what's the best criminal at the time? The guy in Scarface and the guy in Little Caesar.
Billy the Kid?
What's it?
Billy the Kid?
No. Whatever, doesn't matter. He's living high. He's like, look at me, Ma, look at me now, Ma. I can't even think of what that guy's name is. Anyway, he's like really, really happy. Well, then he's gonna get like Ebola or some disease where his skin rots off, or something. He's going to have to die as the result of his immoral behavior. That's the way the movie, the production code, what they would have demanded from them. Thief, robbery, safe cracking, and dynamiting. What a good verb, or at least gerund. Dynamiting of trains, mines, building, etc. should not be detailed in method. You can find that on YouTube, dude. Whatever. Arson must be subject to the same safeguards, right? Should not be detailed on how to make a Molotov cocktail, something like that, right? Firearms should be restricted. Notice the givens that are in here, the essentials, the moral standards, right? All these things that are assumed in this sort of thing. Right? So the production code as a mode of self-policing. Hollywood studios come out and say, hey, we're very much afraid of the moral decline of American civilization, and these are some of the ways in which we're going to address it. And Casablanca is submitted, so Casablanca is probably submitted to the PCA in like late 1940. And roundly considered one of the great American films of all time. And have I described this before? It's creepy. It's a creepy movie for me because Humphrey Bogart's smiling in it. If you ever watch any other Humphrey Bogart movie, he just throws around this freaking scowl. He's just angry, something all the time. And in Casablanca, 90% of the movie, he's angry. He's just and he's drinking a lot and all that, smoking all the time, that sort of stuff. There's a creepy moment in which we go and flashback to Paris. One of the famous lines from Casablanca is, oh, don't forget, we'll always have Paris. Well, we're going to go back, flashback to Paris, and it's creepy because Humphrey Bogart's driving his car, and he's got his arm around Ilsa, and he's smiling. That's the creepy part, because he's smiling, and the road behind him's going like this, but his steering wheel's not moving. You ever watch those old movies, roads? It looks like he's on a long, twisty road, but he's just like, hey, this is great, Ilsa. Anyway, they get to the movie, they get to her apartment or something like that. Have I described this yet? Okay, so they get to their apartment, her apartment. The Germans are about to march into town and start the whole problem of the movie. Anyway, they're like, hey, baby, what's up? And they move into an embrace, and I'm going to limit my acting here. But they come into an embrace, and then no, I'm just kidding. They come into an embrace. They move to kiss. In the original version of it, it fades to black, holds black, fades out of black, and they're in the same place, and they're just walking and talking and doing whatever they're doing. When it's submitted to the production code, someone on the board of the production code's like, you're not doing that. And then Michael Ortiz, the director's like, what are you talking about? Like, what happened when you faded to black, right? And the director goes, well, I don't know. Maybe we took a break. I don't know exactly what happened. I don't remember. And they made him change it. So now they come to an embrace, they lip lock, or they start to, and it's a cut, and they're standing there and they're happy. Just a simple fade to black. That was people saw as an insinuation of something, right? Right? That sort of thing. They didn't like that. There's another example. There's a good story of an example of the movie. Its name I forget at the top of my head, but it's film noir, and it shows a film fake. Anyway, a woman, and the camera is going to move up on her, so it's going to dolly. Dolly is like a set of train tracks, so the camera can move on real smooth, super smoothly. It's going to dolly towards her and zoom in, so it's a mid shot, and then it's going to get closer and closer and become a close up on her face. Well, as it's a mid shot, so a mid shot, like this much of her body, a man comes up behind her, her lover, and comes up behind her, and he starts to kiss her on her ear. So now the dolly is starting to happen. It comes closer and closer, and so what happens is his head gets out of the frame, right? Because it's getting closer and closer. And she's, I don't know what she's doing, biting her lip or something like this. And they made him stop the movie when they were showing it. The production kept going, what's he doing? And the director's like, I don't have any idea. He got a cup of coffee or something like that? And he goes, no, what's he doing down there? Like, I mean, this is exactly what the guy says. And he's like, down where? And he's like, down there. What's he doing to her? And he's like, I don't have any freaking clue, you perv. Right? What he's doing is calling out what an audience often does, is right, you see things that aren't there at all. Literally, he's not on the frame. There's nothing going on, right? But the insinuation of that, and the director calls that guy out so loudly that they leave it in. They're like,